Suhair sir, Pradeep sir join ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
I am Suhair.
സാറിന്റെ വീഡിയോ ഒന്ന് ഓൺ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമോ സുഹൈർ സാറിന്റെ?
ഇടാലോ. ഞാൻ ബാൻഡ് വിഡ്ത്ത് ഉപദ്രവിക്കേണ്ട നേരം ചെയ്തായിരുന്നു.
നമുക്ക് ഓഫ് ചെയ്യാം, അപ്പോഴേ ഓഫ് ചെയ്യാം സാർ.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Vijana madam. Good evening. Pradeep sir, Vijana madam.
Pradeep sir.
TKM.
Yes.
നമ്മൾ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്.
Thank you.
നമുക്കൊരു
പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോം ചേഞ്ച് ഒരു ഡിലേ ആക്കി അല്ലേ?
അതെ പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോം ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്തതിൽ ഇതെല്ലാം കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് അങ്ങനെ ഒരു അനൗൺസ്മെന്റ് വന്നത്. അതൊരു ചെറിയൊരു ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടായി. പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോം ഒരു 2 എണ്ണം കയറി ക്ലാഷ് ആയി എന്നെന്തോ ആണ് അവർ പറഞ്ഞത്. എനിവേ ടീം മാനേജ് ചെയ്തു. അത് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് കുറച്ചുകൂടെ നേരത്തെ തുറന്നായിരുന്നു. കുഴപ്പമില്ല സാർ, നമുക്കൊരു 2-3 മിനിറ്റ്സ്, ഒരു 5 മിനിറ്റ്സ് കൂടെ എടുക്കാം. കാസിം സാർ. ഹലോ കാസിം സാർ.
സർ ഇപ്പോൾ പാനലിസ്റ്റ് അല്ല.
പ്ലീസ്.
Muhammad Qasim is
സാറിന്റെ ഓക്കെ. സുഹൈർ സാറിന്
I am visible to you. I hope.
Yes.
Okay. Visible sir.
അജിത് ഗോപി ഏറ്റവും ബെസ്റ്റ് ക്യാമറ ഫേസ് അജിത് ഗോപിയാണ്. നമ്മളെ അതിന് മുമ്പ് ഒന്നുമല്ല.
അതിവിടെ സ്റ്റുഡിയോ സെറ്റിംഗ് ആണ്.
മനസ്സിലായി.
മധുലാൽ സാറിന്റെ ഞാൻ അറിയിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്, പ്രദീപ് സാർ.
വികെഡി സാർ എത്തിയോ?
സാറിനെ വികെഡി സാർ മധു ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടോ? വികെഡി സാർ ഇന്ന് സാറിന്
അല്ല സാർ വരുമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു.
ഓക്കെ. ഇല്ല സാർ, ഇതുവരെ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല. കാസിം സാർ, സാറിന്റെ മൈക്ക് അൺമ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല. കാസിം സാർ.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening sir. Good evening.
Sir, സുഖമായിട്ടിരിക്കുന്നോ?
Yes.
Okay.
കോവിഡ് ആണെങ്കിലും ഇങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ കാണാൻ പറ്റുന്നുണ്ടല്ലോ, അത് തന്നെ ഉള്ള സന്തോഷം.
അതെ. Okay. My grandson is also with me and he is saying tata to everyone. Tata to everyone. Okay.
മെമ്പർഷിപ്പ് നേരത്തെ കൊടുക്കുക.
Thank you. Tata. Okay. Grandson is saying tata to everyone. Okay. Oh.
Team, I think, sir, can we start? Can we start now?
Yeah.
No problem.
I think, yeah, it is almost, so participants lists, yeah, it will cover up within 5 minutes. So, sir, I think we can start. Shweta?
Yes, sir.
So we can start.
Yes.
These future power challenges, how the public sector utilities are gearing up. Today, we have with us Mr. Pradeep B, Deputy Chief Engineer, Planning and Commerce KCB Limited, for handling the session on changing role of utilities. I once again welcome you all to today's session. I, with utmost pleasure and pride, invite Engineer Suhaid AK, Honorable Chair IEEE IEEE Kerala Chapter, for the introductory speech. Sir, please.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasant duty to welcome our guest of honor and eminent speaker of the day, Engineer Pradeep, Deputy Chief Engineer, also holding the powers of the Chief Engineer, our mentor and Professor V.K. Damodaran Sir, IEEE and PES leaders, and all the learned participants. Engineer Ajit Gopi will give a detailed introduction of the speaker later. I thank Ajit Gopi for his magnificent efforts to organize this series of events. IEEE Power and Energy Society Kerala chapter kick-started this webinar series yesterday on future power challenges. How the public sector utilities are gearing up, that's the topic where distinguished speakers from KCB Limited will speak to us on the most relevant subjects related to the power sector in Kerala. Yesterday, the talk started with the introduction of Professor VKD, followed by the first lecture, RE Integration and Kerala Power System by Engineer Biju, Executive Engineer, Transcript Kottayam. This program will last till 30th November. Today, Engineer B. Pradeep will talk on a very important topic, changing role of utilities. As we are all very keen to listen to this talk. IEEE Power and Energy Society is the oldest society of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, focused on the scientific and engineering knowledge about electric power and energy. PES is the leading provider of scientific and engineering information on electric power and energy for the betterment of society, and the preferred professional development source for its members. This program is part of our mission to connect the professional community and public at large with the plans and programs of power utilities and research centers. We are grateful to KCB for the wholehearted cooperation in this venture. As we all know, energy is the cornerstone of the progress and the way of our life. The energy sector is changing deeply and faster than ever before. Mega trends are taking place in the energy landscape. In the utility business, they are distributed energy resources, renewables, electric vehicles, and digital technologies, changing the relational and operational models. The future will be much more distributed with clients being the boss. Up to now, utilities have been the very backbone of energy services. Now their role and model are being challenged by the digital revolution. Many interesting scenarios are about to unravel. I'm sure the speaker will highlight on the upcoming scenarios. Before the speaker begins his talk, I request Ajit Gopi to make a detailed introduction of the speaker. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, sir, for the inspiring introduction. And we are actually honored to get one of the leading experts, Engineer Pradeep Sir from the public utility, the leading public utility in the state, KCB Limited. It's a great honor, sir, for the IEEE Power and Energy Society Kerala Section to have you on this evening as part of the leading webinar series, which is making waves among the power engineers and the student community and young professionals. We are all eager to listen to your talk. I'll take this opportunity to introduce you. Engineer B. Pradeep is currently the Deputy Chief Engineer, holding the full power of Chief Engineer at Planning and Commercial Division, the leading division of KCB Limited, the strategic division of KCB Limited. He has been with the same division for several years, leading KCB on the front, especially on the strategic side, how the KCB, the public utility, should move and how it should position in the power sector of Kerala. Engineer B. Pradeep is actually a great leader. He was the former president of KCB Officers Association, the leading KCB Officers Union in the state. He is presently the Secretary of Electricity Employees Federation of India. He is the former private secretary of Honorable Minister Sri Kadambally Sridharan sir. So, as a leading personality, we are really honored to get Pradeep sir for this evening to have to enlighten us, to enlighten the power engineering community, to enlighten the student community, young professionals, and the whole IEEE community on the power scenario and the strategies involved in leading KCB to one of the best utilities in the country. On behalf of IEEE Power and Energy Society Kerala chapter, I welcome you, sir. Now the floor is yours. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Suhair sir. Thank you, Ajit Gobi. I am told that V.K. Damodar sir is also here. He is a leading personality in Kerala, of course, international personality in power sector. It is my honor to have him today to be here with all of you and share my thoughts. It may not be purely my thoughts. In fact, I am honored that KCB is given an opportunity to share with the leading technocrats in our state on how the utility is positioning itself in the challenges that is apparent to all. So, without much introduction, let me go to. I have a small presentation. It is a very small presentation. We will go through the presentation. It is just a simple thought process. Thereafter, we can have a meaningful discussion. So, the presentation, the main intention is to generate sufficient discussion so that we all benefit through that process. So, I hope the host will allow me to share the screen. Yes. So, hope everybody is can see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, of course, this is today. IEEE has taken a very timely topic on the changing role of utilities. Of course, power sector utilities across the globe is in the verge of very dramatic roles, changes in roles. I would like to say it like that. But I'm not very sure how many utilities across the globe has taken that as a challenge and how many of them has taken it as an opportunity. In fact, we in KSAB would like to change, like to see it as an opportunity rather than a challenge. So these are the broad discussion points I thought we will have today. First, we should understand what are the driving forces. What are the driving forces that creates an environment of change in the power sector? There are different driving forces. And then we have a brief look at the usual options that anybody can have when posed with an opportunity for change. And thereafter, two topics which I will use interchangeably. That is how Kerala is responding to the historic changes that take place across the globe on power sector, and how what is the Kerala experience so far. These two areas I will interchangeably be referring to. So when we think about the drivers of change in power sector, we can broadly divide those drivers into four areas. One is policy. Policy is framed by the people of the country. Of course, in a democratic country, there is a way policy is framed. The elected representatives, the governments frame the policies. However, the policy, the aspirations of the people will reflect in the policies framed by the governments and the elected representatives. Of course, what is the policy path that is being prescribed for the power sector? That is definitely a driver for change. That is succeeded by, of course, legal changes that happens in the sector. Of course, policy is one thing. Legal framework also creates or seek to create. It already has created many changes in the sector, in how the sector is working, and it is now it is looking for second generation reforms, so that various legal changes are being thought of in the power sector. And technology. Of course, as engineers, you might be more aware of the technological changes that happens across the globe, which drives the changes in the power sector. And last but not least, customer aspirations. Of course, customer aspirations go on changing, and we need to change. The utility has to change continuously to meet those aspirations. Our former chairman, Rajiv Sadanandan, you may be knowing him as the health secretary, but he has a stint of 3 years in KCB as its chairman. He once, on this customer aspiration aspect, he once gave us an interesting experience that he has done in his earlier stint in the health secretary. He has done a research on the experience of people in Bihar and in Kerala regarding the health sector. And he said that he was astonished to see that Bihar people has been more happy with the delivery of health services than those in Kerala. And of course, his observation is that aspiration is something that goes on based on what you deliver. So it is it is not that you can fulfill the aspirations of the customers every time. As you deliver more, the aspirations will go on increasing. So in Bihar, if a doctor comes to a primary health center once in a month, they are very happy. But in Kerala, if a primary health center, if the doctor is not coming in any particular afternoon, people are very angry. So the aspirations or the expectations are based on their previous experience. And of course, when you deliver more, then you will be asked to deliver much more. So we will go through each of these one by one. So policy globally, power sector has been seen and developed as a public sector monopoly. But during the last 2-3 decades, it has been thought that free market will provide much more efficiencies in this sector. And a plethora of policy changes has been attempted to break monopolies and bring in competition. But it has not been, the results has been mixed, I will say. There has been some success stories, but there are many failures also for those policies. Because of the inherent characteristics of electricity. Electricity, as we know, is the flow of electrons, and for the electrons to flow, there should be a conductor. So these wires which carry this flow of electrons creates a natural monopoly element to the power sector. So attempts has been always there for in the last 2-3 decades to break this monopoly and create some kind of a competition. If pure competition is not possible, there has been attempts to have pseudo competitions. So the free market policy, those who promote those policies believe that a free market is the solution or the ultimate what you call solution to improve efficiencies and productivity and services. So based on that, there has been a lot of structural as well as legal changes in the power sector. That, of course, drives the changes in the utilities. And environment, when we come to Kerala, the protection of Western Ghats has been always a lingering issue in Kerala. So we have always an issue. Of course, KCB had always an issue when the matter of environment is discussed in Kerala. And protection of Western Ghats, of course, it is a shared asset of all of us. So protecting the Western Ghats is everybody's agenda. So it has to be protected. But at the same time, how to have adequate power, how to address the concerns of environment, and how, at the same time, how adequate power supply to meet the growing demands of Kerala's society has always been an issue that has a policy implication, and it always has an impact on how the utility has been functioning. And of late, in the last decade, we have seen a rising understanding on the global warming. And I know, I think as technocrats who has concerned citizens, you'll be aware of the challenges that we face in respect to global warming. And of course, almost all the world countries as now are committed to sustainable development goals. Of course, America has been taking a wayward path. Of course, with the recent elections, of course, it is expected that even US will now try to adopt these sustainable development goals. And of course, our globe will be a more peaceful or a better place to live on. So this sustainable development goals has a very significant impact on power sector, because power sector or electricity sector is seen as one of the most polluting sectors in the economy, in addition to transport sector. Transport sector and power sector are the two most contributing sectors in the global warming. And of course, focus of the policymakers and the governments are naturally in this sector to achieve the sustainable development goals. So these are the policy imperatives. Now, policy, there has been attempts in the past to have new legal frameworks, and there are ongoing attempts to have fresh or as I indicated earlier, next level of reforms in this sector. So as I indicated, the policy, there has been a large view that free market will deliver. And of course, even those who advocate free market will agree that there is nothing like free market. There is nothing like free market because the participants, the information asymmetry among the participants create a market which is imperfect. So there is nothing called a free or perfect market. All markets are imperfect, which creates large issues in every sector. And power sector, with its monopoly characteristics, has not been a very triumphant example of introducing this competition. Anyway, there has been attempts in creating power markets where buyers and sellers can compete and sell and buy electricity. So 2003 electricity has bring in, and in our country it is now established. Power market has been established. Of course, it may not be a perfect market, but it has been established. And now comes this open access. In fact, open access is seen and introduced as an attempt to break the monopoly of wires. Wires, I mean the conductors which carry electrons. As we all know, electrons can flow only through conductors, and if you, as a electricity consumer, want to use electricity, it can only come through wires. And who lays the wires will naturally have a monopoly. So a second player may not be in a position to lay all these wires starting from the generating station to the customer consumption point and compete with the existing player. So an attempt has been made right from 2003 Electricity Act to break this monopoly and bring in a concept called open access, wherein every player, every generator, every consumer will have right to access to this transmission distribution network, which is a monopoly. So a public sector utility ideally will create this monopolistic network, transmission distribution network, and the other players like the generators and the customers will have a legal right to use the services provided by the network service provider to transport his energy from the source to his end use. So this is something similar to our highways being where toll gates collect some money for using the highways. It is similar to that. Anybody who use the power transmission highways or the transmission distribution network will have to pay the toll to the network service provider to transport his energy from his source of generation to the end use. So this has been introduced for the only reason that competition and free market has to prevail in this sector to bring in efficiency. So that is the policy background to that legal changes. Now comes multiple licenses. Again, it is an attempt to create a competition at the last mile connectivity point. So the acts from the very beginning promotes multiple licenses in the same geographic area. So if I don't like one licensee, I should be able to get services from the other licensee. But nowhere it has succeeded. But as I have already indicated, because of the monopoly of the lines and conductors and electricity, it is almost impossible for the second licensee to create all these lines and assets and be competitive with the incumbent player. And now comes the new latest attempt to create a free market or preferred market, and that has come in the form of amendment to the existing enactment, wherein it has been sought to separate content from carriage. Here, content signifies the electricity, which we all use, and carriage signifies the network. So currently, every operator who is providing the content is the owner of the carriages also. So the government has considered to legally separate it, to legally diverse it. Of course, we know physically it's not possible to diverse it, but the enactment is trying to create a legal separation between the content provider and the carriage provider. So carriage provider will look after the network only, and the content provider will be using the carriage for delivering his content from the generator to the user. So a new entity is sought to be created, which is in the new legal terminology has been termed as the supply licensee. So he will take care of only the supply, not the distribution and transmission. So traditionally we know the sectors of electricity as generation, transmission, distribution. Now a new sector is being sought to be introduced in addition to generation, transmission, and distribution. The fourth content is the supply licensing. So he will take care of the content portion only. The carriage portion will be taken care by the generation and distribution sectors. And of course, generation will be taken care of another set of players. So this has been sought to be achieved, but enactment has not been smooth because of various challenges, both commercial and technical challenges. The separation has not taken so far. The enactment also has not been taken so far. But of course, the positive side, of course, if I can term it like that, is that all these legal changes has been sought to or in the guise of providing a choice to the customers. Of course, who is the customer? That is a big question, because none of these changes never consider customers like us as the real customers. All these changes are meant for big customers who may be consuming lakhs of course, millions of units of electricity in every month. So the choice and of course open access, carriage control separation, choice, etc., will be available to only those big consumers who has the muscle power to use all these mechanisms. The end consumers, of course, like you and us, the small consumers who use electricity for their domestic consumers or retail businesses, will not be having all these privileges. So, of course, it is technically very challenging to provide that choice to the very end retail customers also. So these are the legal changes that has been made and that are being attempted to make, which will have an impact on the how the utilities will look after, say, 5 or 10 years. Now, on the technology front, I am not taking much time because many of you will be aware of the technologies, the way technology is developing, and what could be the impact of those new technologies in the functioning of traditional utilities in power sector. Of course, the major point for discussion has been renewable energy, especially solar photovoltaic technology, and the term prosumer. Suhair sir has given a more common technical term for that, distributed renewable. So these distributed renewable energy generation happens at the consumer premises or the customer premises, and he at the very same time he is a consumer of electricity and he is a producer of electricity. So this word has been coined, prosumer, who at the very same time generates and consumes electricity in his very same premises. So this evolution of solar power, solar photovoltaic technology over the years, of course, technology, of course, has brought in some improvements in efficiency, but the real development has been in the commercial angle to that. In fact, more than technology, it is the more than technology. It is the price fall that has seen in the last decade. That has made this renewable energy a challenge to existing business models in power sector. The challenge or the opportunity, I will call it a challenge as well as the opportunity, is that earlier producing 1 unit of electricity using this renewable energy sources, either wind or solar, has been costly than the grid power, the power, the rate of power which the traditional utilities were supplying to the consumers. But that barrier has been broken for the good in the last 4 or 5 years. So given with this gigantic scale of production that has come up in China, and this price of the inverters and the solar panels has come down drastically, which has resulted in a situation where this crossover in prices has happened to many of the consumers, not all the consumers, but significant sectors of the consumers. This price changeover has happened. So there are significant sectors of consumers, especially the high-end consumers, the commercial consumers, the the high-end domestic consumers who are paying at a higher tariff currently, their prevailing grid tariff or the tariff at which KCB is supplying power to them, or any entity, any power sector utility across the globe is giving to them, is now higher than the cost he will incur for generating 1 unit electricity from a DRE, distributed renewable energy source. So this has radically changed the power sector and is going to change how the power sector, the utilities are going to function in the coming days. Coming along with this, the developments in the storage is making huge strides, and it is expected that in the next 5 to 10 years, the price in storage technologies will again come down as drastically as in the case of solar PV. So if that happens, if storage technology has tremendously improved, new storage methods has come, and of course there are issues of environmental hazards. Still, the cost is coming down. Large volumes of electricity is now possible to be stored. So all those changes are happening. Now, with if these two happens, then the traditional business model of electricity power utilities will be limited to a network service provider to absorb whatever surplus energy that might be injected by the prosumer, of course, after storing and after his use, and return that power to him at a later stage. So it will the traditional utilities will be limited to network service provider for most of the consumers, and of course there will be big consumers where he cannot co-locate his generator for his entire consuming needs. Of course, as we know, this renewable energy also needs a large resources of land resources for setting up sizable renewable energy capacity. So for large consumers who are consuming large volumes of electricity, he cannot co-locate his renewable energy to meet his entire requirements. Of course, other I'm not touching upon fuel cells and all those things in this presentation, because we are yet to experience how it is going to evolve. Hydrogen cells, all those things I'm not mentioning here. I'm mentioning about what is really coming up in the sector as of now. Now, along with this comes the technology of the electric mobility. As I have indicated earlier, power and transport sector are the two sectors which is creating the most challenges in the global warming issues related to debates on global warming. So as policymakers are focused on energy sector, same way policymakers are focused on transport sector as well. So electric mobility is coming in a big way, and this is again an opportunity and a challenge. And of course, given the informed nature of renewable energy, so we all know electric power generation from solar technology can happen only when sun is there. Most of our usage of electricity is when sun goes to the other part of our globe. So, and of course, in the daytime also, there are large variations in solar power generation because of clouds, rain, etc. There are so many factors which influence the dynamic generation of solar power in a dynamic manner on a day-to-day basis. It fluctuates like anything. So, and the system operator or the utility will not have any control over the level of generation from a distributed renewable energy source. And of course, even bulk renewable energy sources are now being considered as must run. It should be generated at any way. It cannot be controlled. It is the policy prescription as of now to promote solar energy. So the challenges of this infirm power, a power which is not firm or stable, is leading to research and developments in smart devices and smart grid. Of course, that may not change the way the utility may be performing in the coming days, but of course, this has to be taken in mind by the utilities while designing its future development plans. And of course, customer aspirations. Of course, Kerala has a special nature of our customer base as a global exposure. Most of our customers are global customers, in fact. Those who are living in the Europe, those who are settled in America, those who are working in Gulf, of course, any part of the globe are our citizens. So they are coming over here, they are staying here. They may be coming back to Kerala after a long stint in the Western countries and settling here. So we have a big customer base which is having a global exposure in the level of services and the level of utility performance across the globe. So that creates a pressure on us to perform better. And of course, these relate, and of course, even others will have issues with service quality. Of course, as I earlier indicated, customer aspirations go on increasing as you try to deliver more. It is an ever increasing proposition. And reliability of supply, of course, of course, it has improved over the last 3-4 years considerably, but there are areas which where we have to improve very much. And price, of course, is again a customer consideration. Price, of course, when especially when competition is coming in a big way, price at which electricity is delivered is again very important. So I will list these 3 broad areas as the main drivers of change that is being heralded in power sector. So the options before the utilities, any utility, any power sector utility, or any individual, of course, when change confronts him, as has been very well explained in, of course, many of you might have read this book, Who Moved My Cheese? I'm not going into the details of that book, but I will recommend everybody, those who have already not seen or read that book, it is available online also, to read that book, because it helps in understanding your own responses in when change confronts you. Of course, change is not confronting power sector utility alone. It is confronting everybody, every sector, anyway. As philosopher Karl Marx has rightly coined, the only thing that does not change is change. So change is everywhere. It is always happening. So it is better to be prepared for the change as individuals also. So I will recommend those who have not read this book, Who Moved My Cheese, to invariably read it, so that you can identify your own responses to various change situations. So broadly, I'm not going to the details of the book, but of course, normally the first response is to deny the change. Change never happened. It is not going to happen. It is not going to happen. This is the denial mode. Then there are resistance to changes. Then their adaptation and response. These are interchangeable. It can happen. Some people will adopt to the situation. Some people will be responding to the needs of the new situation and try to, of course, then comes the question of adoption also. So mere adoption and responding to the situation and adopting to the appropriately to the new situation are different. I understand it as two different way of responding to changes. I'm not taking much time on this, but I would like to just place it here to have a glimpse on how KCB or Kerala is trying to cope with these changes that are happening across it, around it over the years. So it is, I would like to emphasize that it has never been denial, because being led by visionary leaders and of course policymakers and all those over the years, changes we know it will happen, and changes has to have invariably will happen. And so the response of Kerala, I will rather coin it like this: it has been a cocktail of resist, respond, and adopt. Somebody may immediately think that this is a sequential progression that Kerala has seen. First resist, then respond, then adopt. I will say, I will reiterate that it is not. It is not a sequential progression. It is all these components or all these facets of response to change is coexisting, had coexisted, and will be coexisting. So there are elements of resistance to changes. There are elements of responding and appropriately creating mechanisms to meet the opportunities or the challenges of the response. There has been attempts to adapt to the changes. So it all coexist simultaneously. Now, if we go through each of it, again, I'm not going into the entire history, but I will just mention few things. Of course, there has been attempts to privatize the sector from 1918 onwards, starting from Chile, then to in UK, then to various parts of the globe. In India, it started in Orissa. Thereafter, it has been experimented in Delhi. And there are some pockets in the country which has the power sector has been privatized. But largely, the sector has remained in the public ownership in the country. But I'm not saying that without seeing the large changes that has happened in the power generation sector. Power generation sector has seen a large change in ownership, and now almost 50% of power generation happens in the private sector. But the delivery of service sector, the transmission distribution sector, has remained largely public in the country, and Kerala has spearheaded that resistance to privatization, and Kerala has the ownership of the utility has remained in the public, and it is a award statement of our government's to retain the public characteristics of this utility. And the reorganization of the power sector, there has been attempts to unbundle the electricity boards which has been there in all the states, to various pieces into generation. Generation there itself, there could be number of companies looking after generation. There could be a state transmission utility which take care of the transmission requirements, and at the same time there can be private players also to provide transmission infrastructure. And distribution sector is a separate entity from these two, and there could be number of distribution companies operating in different geographical pockets of the state. So this unbundling has been resisted in Kerala, and Kerala has retained its traditional utility structure, which with a purpose. It is not that we just are resisting change. There is a very significant, in fact, our success story thereafter is linked to this conscious decision to retain our traditional utility sector, to tap or to leverage the scale of operations, and have backward forward integration. Of course, you might have gone through statements of global conglomerates of backward and forward integration. A oil refinery company will always look for an asset across the globe to extract oil. Same time, the refinery will at the same time will try to have retail business to sell its products in the market. So this backward and forward integration is a well understood business model, which has its own importance in bringing in costs and efficiencies. So consciously in this mind, Kerala has decided to retain its traditional utility structure, and it has taken a different path when compared to all the states in the country. And on the matter of carriage, content and carriage separation, there has been attempts in the country to legalize it, but the technical as well as commercial issues raised by Kerala has caught the thoughtful attention of the policymakers of the country in the central government and the Power Ministry and Central Electricity Authority, and they have now shelved that proposition, and understanding that the current realities of the sector does not augur well to push forward these legal changes. So this is a continuing process. This resistance to changes, to have to keep the interest of the citizens in the forefront, has always a character of Kerala's response to changes. Now come to the response to the changes. So the government, today's government in Kerala has launched a mission mode projects in Kerala in power sector. Of course, the well-known missions are Life Mission, this Education Mission, Ardram Mission for health sector, etc. This is not that well known, but in power sector, it has launched a mission on Urja Kerala mission, which hinges mostly on 5 projects. Duty for the distribution sector, Transgrid for the transmission sector, and eSafe, it is for the safety of the network and all those things. And Saura to promote renewable energy, especially solar energy, and Filament Rahita Kerala. It is a project to cater to the requirements of demand side management, energy efficiency, and global warming, and all those things. So these missions, I'm not going to explain each and every mission, but the attempt has been to revamp and upgrade the existing infrastructure. So Transgrid 2 is creating a huge infrastructure at an estimated cost of around 10,000 crores to create a huge infrastructure so that our future power requirements are met adequately without any constraints. Earlier, our system doesn't have adequate capacity, which is leading to last mile issues like low voltage, frequent interruptions like. So to address those issues, the infrastructure has to be revamped, and the transmission sector has not been getting that attention in the earlier years, and investment has been not that adequate in the earlier years. So that backlog is being tried to be overcome with the Transgrid. And in Kerala sector, in Kerala specific issues, we are a land stressed state where the per capita availability of land is very limited, and so land is a very prized possession for anybody. So acquisition of land for setting up new substations or drawing new lines through our thickly populated areas is always a contentious issues, are always caught up in litigations, and has been hampering our developments for years together. So Transgrid 2, even though the investment in investing in new technologies has been slightly costly in the initial years, it is coming out significantly now. Like GA substations, which uses very little land, and use of multi-circuit, multi-voltage new designs in transmission tower construction. In fact, now Kerala has its own patented transmission tower designs, which uses same right of way for, say, a 110 kV line for building up even 220 kV and higher voltage lines, say, using the same right of way. So using the same existing right of way, much more power can be transferred through those transmission corridors. And through these new efforts, the transmission backbone of Kerala is being enhanced to 400 kV. Right from, in the picture as we can see, right from the northernmost tip of Kerala, from Mairati, to the southernmost tip of Kerala in Trivandrum, Pothankode, a 400 kV backbone is being built. So our transmission system will be stable for another 1 decade. So we can rely on that backbone to build the downstream systems in 220 kV and 110 kV, and then the distribution sector. And that this high voltage DC system that is coming up in Thrissur, which is bringing in large quantum of power from Chhattisgarh to Kerala. This high voltage DC system, which is terminating in Thrissur, Madakatra, can handle a power of to the tune of 2000 megawatt. 2000 megawatt. Imagine that the largest power station in Kerala is 780 megawatt, our Idiki powerhouse. So this high voltage DC station, which is coming up in Thrissur, can handle 2000 megawatt. So our power, we can bring in power in large volumes. At the same time, we can preserve our environment. As I have indicated the change drivers in the initial slides, we have to protect our environment. We have to protect our Western Ghats. So, and we doesn't have coal in our state. We have only hydro as a natural resources. So there is an imperative to bring in large quantities of power to Kerala, for which this infrastructure has been a very significant bottleneck. So with the Transgrid 2, that bottleneck is being removed, and we can have a smooth flow of power across from anywhere in the country. And to once that lands in Kerala, it will be transported to any nook and corner of the state. So Transgrid is really reshaping the transmission sector in our state. DUDI 2021 is a 4-year term, 4-year plan period project. There in the distribution, around 4,000 crore investment is envisaged, which tries to bring in new technologies, and it assures twin source of power to every customer. When I was a student, I had seen from press reports that the then electricity minister, Mr. Balakrishna, in his official residence in Trivandrum, enjoys 2 sources of power from 2 different substations. Then that was available to very limited this kind of privileged customers. Now it has over the years it has been more equitably distributed, but still every customer doesn't have that privilege of having twin sources of supply. This DUDI 2021 takes care of that. It ensures that every distribution transformer that we see in the roadsides will have at least 2 sources of power from sources, in the sense that it will have as a source at least 2 different substations. So this that has been ensured to enhance reliability to desired levels. And we know we are a thickly vegetated state, and our bare conductors are creating a headache to network managers. So we are moving gradually towards aerial bench cables and covered conductors, so that it addresses the issue of frequent interruptions as well as the issues of safety. And this CFPDs, this is communicating fault path detectors. See, these are an innovation from KSEB engineers. They have designed a product which is which provides very innovative tools to the network managers, and at this time at a very fraction of a cost of its competing products. So we are putting up these communicating fault path detectors in large numbers across our distribution feeders. So once a fault comes, these CFPDs accurately provides information to the network manager where the fault happens. So immediately the network manager can act and isolate that portion of the network and energize the entire other balanced portions of the network through different substations, and isolate the faulty area alone, and immediately attack the problem and rectify it within no time. So this is giving digital information to his mobile phones. These equipments fixed in our PSC post you see in the roadsides, in our distribution feeders, they provide instant information to our network officers, our section office field staff, instant information of fault and its location to his mobile phone, and he can immediately act and rectify. He can restore supply to all those where this fault is not there, and immediately attend to the fault also. And to enable this frequent switching or this switching to isolate the faulty areas, we are bringing in large numbers of putting in a large number of ring main units along with SCADA, so that switching operations become more centralized. And of course, wherever these RMUs are not there, we are putting up conventional to isolate and isolate these faulty areas and restore the balance supply. So all these components brings in a significant revamping and upgrading of the transmission distribution network. And also is giving us the results. Our transmission distribution losses. And of course, if somebody in the country is seeing these figures, they will be surprised, because there are states in the country where the distribution losses are more than 30%. It's like Jammu and Kashmir, where the distribution losses are more than 40%. So this is a state where the distribution losses is the lowest in the. So through DUDI, what we are aiming is to have the global best standards, which is around 6 to 7%. Distribution losses, global best standards are seen as 6 to 7%. We are very close to that, and we are sure that we will be in a couple of years, we will be at par with the global benchmarks on distribution losses. Transmission losses already is one of the lowest at 3.7%, and our collection efficiency, another efficiency benchmark across country, we are the top top state in the country with a collection efficiency, consistent collection efficiency of 99%. And of course, system efficiency is measured in the way the infrastructure is being used. Of course, infrastructure is, if the infrastructure is developed or designed to meet the peak requirement, and if for a balance 20 hours, out of the 24 hours, around 4 hours is the evening. The system is built for that 4 hours, and for the balance 20 hours, if the system is going to remain underutilized, it is an indication of inefficient usage of the network. So demand side management through distribution of these energy efficient devices, it improves our operational efficiency, and at the same time it helps in improving the environment through energy efficiency, etc. And the price of electricity in the state over the last decade has been remaining. If you see the increase in price of electricity and compare it with its increase with the consumer price index, which is the inflation we all feel while we procure any product or service. So it has been well below the increase in consumer price over the years, and in that sense, by improving our efficiency in various sectors, we have been capable of absorbing our increase in our input cost. Of course, our input costs are influenced by various inflation parameters. We could absorb a significant portion of that inflation and pass on to the customers only a portion of it. That is what it signifies. And now comes our attempts to adapt to the changes that are thrown up by the technological changes in renewable energy. And as far as we understand, Kerala is the only utility in the country which has taken up rooftop solar program as its own program. Of course, there are utilities which is running it as part of a subsidy-driven program by the government of India. They are acting as a tool to implement it. But apart from that, or going a step ahead, Kerala has decided to be the front runner to implement it. It is a utility-driven program. So we have offered to our customers different models to select it. What we are asking them, give us your rooftop, we will invest. KCB will invest in your rooftop, and based on different models, you can have energy from it. So in model 1, if somebody gives us the roof, we will invest and put up solar there, and a certain percentage of that energy will be given free of cost to the user or the rooftop owner in lieu of he providing us the access to his rooftop. That is model 1. Model 2 is another model where again the entire investment is by KSEB only. So give us the rooftop, we will put up the plant, and we will give the entire energy we will give you to at a price which to most of the consumers will be lower than their existing tariff. As I initially indicated, the price crossover has happened to a significant number of customers. So to those customers, it is beneficial. They don't have to make any investment. KCB will invest. They will put up the panels in their rooftop, and the entire energy that is generated will be given to the customer at a predetermined tariff, which will remain stable for the next 25 years. Of course, retail electricity tariff will not remain stable for the next 25 years. So the energy given from the solar panel, the price will remain stable for the next 25 years. So it is a win-win situation for the utility as well as the customer. And the third option or third model is that KCB, if the customer is willing to invest, well and good. You give the cost to us, we will set up the plant, and we will take care of the initial maintenance for the next 5 years. So these are the models that has been tremendously welcomed by Kerala. When we started the registration, more than 275,000 customers as registered in that in this program. But of course, after surveying, we have find that in Kerala, of course, it is not easy to put up rooftops in every rooftop because of our thick vegetation, the shading, etc. Not all rooftop may not be ideal for setting up rooftop, but wherever it is available, we will be setting up this program. And in the central government driven subsidy program for domestic consumers also, wherein also we have built upon these models which we have already evolved, wherein the customers will have an option to have a part investment, because once we go across with these models in our first phase, policymakers are now giving us a cautious advice, saying that the rooftop owner should also have a small investment in this sector. Otherwise, he may not take adequate care in preserving this investment which you have made in his rooftop. So it is always better to have a small portion of investment from him. His also is coming into the project. So this subsidy program has been designed in such a way that there will be investment by the rooftop owner also. KCB will be putting in its own investment, and the Government of India grant also will be coming in. So Government of India, KCB, and the customer will be having investment in this program. And based on the investment from all these parties, the electricity produced from this plant will be shared. And this KUSUM is an agriculture solar pump solarization program. We are adopting models for Kerala specific issues, because we doesn't have our solar pump installations are entirely different from North India, and we have to adopt that Government of India model to suit our requirements. And creating new business opportunities. When the utility has to position itself into the new opportunities and changes and threats that have been thrown up by changes, we have identified two significant business opportunities. One is in setting up EV charging stations, which will transform the Kerala transport sector to radically change the Kerala transport sector towards e-mobility. We already have set up around, in all corporations, we have set municipal corporations in the state, we have already set up EV charging stations. And for the first 3 months, we are offering free charging in these charging stations. And in a single charge, most of the prevailing car models will run for around 300 kilometers. So you can use your car for 300 kilometers for zero fuel charges. Of course, we have designed the tariff also in such a way that it will be almost 1/5 of the running cost for diesel and petrol vehicles. So we are setting up hundreds of charging stations. The map on the side shows the locations identified for EV charging stations. In the next 3 months, around 60 new charging stations are being set up. And it is going to be scaled up in a phased manner within the next 6 to 9 months. So that will be a radical change that is happening. Of course, that will enhance our energy business. And we are looking into this energy swapping also. That is the battery business also. That is another challenging are working on that. And then comes this careful. Leveraging on your asset of right of way that has been led across, that has been drawn across the nook and corner of the country, and every telecom user invariably will be having an electric connection in his location. So invariably the electric lines and posts will be reaching each and every telecom user. So we are using that incumbent advantage, and along with the IT department of Kerala, Kerala State IT Infrastructure Limited, we have formed a joint venture company with a 49-49 equity participation from KCB and KSITL and 2% from Government of Kerala. And the consortium is now laying, it is drawing these optic fiber cables through our transmission and distribution network, which will create a backbone to provide high-speed internet connectivity to each and everybody in our state. And the project envisages free electricity to 20 lakh customers, which will be cross-subsidized. And the cross-subsidy is nothing new to power sector. We cross-subsidize our tariff to agriculture consumers, domestic consumers, and based on our tariff structure. So this free this telecom service to BPL consumers is another cross-subsidy proposition, wherein electricity business will not be impaired, but these telecom service providers will take care of this cross-subsidy burden. That is how it is designed. So these are the new business opportunities. So this is how this utilities evolving. So at the same time, invigorating traditional business model with reimagined customer focus, and we are entering into new business models and diversification by leveraging core strengths. And one more area, this adoption. Of course, I will rush through this. I think the energy market that has come, we are adapting to it, and as I have indicated, we have a resource deficit in our state, and we are utilizing this market to tap the cheaper power market to bring in electricity to Kerala at an optimized cost, so that on the one side our natural resources within the state is conserved, and at the same time we are optimizing our cost. Customer focus has been one of our leading drives in last 3-4 years, and everybody has appreciated our response to this floods that has ravaged the state in 2018. There are many experiences wherein before the people who are affected or evacuated from their homes, before they come back to their homes, electricity has been restored in their houses. So that has been a quick response that has captured the attention of even the international community, I will like to say. Because in every country, these natural disasters affect the populace. And of course, power infrastructure is one of the sectors which is always affected. But this kind of a quick response, it is a model to be emulated that has been the experience that has been, or the opinion that has been coming back to us. And we have standards of performance that is in place to respond to customers' requirements. And of course, we are bringing in a very ICT-enabled solutions to customers' mobile apps. Even to come to our office, we are giving e-Samayam to pre-book his appointment, and to get a new electric connection. It is all easy now. It will not take 7 days more. And in fact, we are bringing in ERP also. And in Palakkad district, we are now piloting a customer-focused program called Vadilpadiyal Sevanam, service for your doorsteps. It has been run successfully through the last 1 month. The program runs like this: any individual, if he wants a service, say if he wants to have a new electric connection, or if he wants to change his connector load, or if he has a complaint with his electricity bill, or if he has a change in request for of his tariff, any kind of service, of supply failure request, any kind of service request, he can make a call to the designated number, our officers and staff will come to the customer's premises, whether it is his industrial establishment or it is house. They will come to his location at pre-designated times and receives all the applications, and he will never has to visit our office for any services. All his needs will be, if some paper has to be transferred, our people will be collecting it from his office, of his premises. He can submit his papers through online also. So there is no need to visit any of our offices also. So this after the successful pilot in Palakkad, we are now taking back the learnings and trying to roll out it across the state in the coming months. And this big push on renewable energy, our target is to have 50% renewable energy by 2025. And the components of that big push include rooftop solar, floating solar in our reservoirs like Idiki, Banasura Sagar. In Idiki reservoir, NDPC and KCB has done a preliminary survey. Around 400 megawatt is eminently possible. But there are some issues with the forest department for which we are initiating the environmental impact assessment now. And the solar park in Kasaragod, it is 200 megawatt park is coming up there. And as I have already indicated, the solar power will be available only during daytime. To increase the availability of power during the peak hours, a second powerhouse in Idiki is being thought of. And we are also trying to tie up hybrid solar so that the capacity utilization factor increases. The availability of power during peak hours is also increased. And in our floating solar in Idiki, we are also trying to set up a storage facility, energy storage facility also, so that peaking support of 2-3 hours will be available from the solar plant. And a new concept of schedulable renewable energy is coming up in the country, in a big way in the country, and we are trying to contract schedulable renewable energy and tapping the Indian renewable energy market. We have already tied up around 300 megawatt wind power from across the country. Another 200 megawatt solar power is in the verge of being contracted. So through these various measures, we, as part of our achieving the sustainable development goals, we target to achieve 50% of renewable energy by 2025. This includes existing hydro, I have to say that. And technology adoption, I learned from Ajit Gobi that there has been a wonderful presentation yesterday, which has explained a lot on our ventures into new technology. So I'm not taking much time. The picture shown here is a GIS map that we have created for our distribution network. And again, this is a first in the country attempt, program. The entire distribution network in the state has been mapped using GIS tools. And now our officers across the spectrum can use this map to identify problem areas, design new networks, design new network elements, plan the future development, and so many. It is tremendously improving our productivity and efficiency. So I'm not taking much on this slide because in view of the earlier presentation. So I think we have come to the last portion of the presentation. So now I think we can have a discussion so that whatever I have left or wherever there has been lack of clarity, we can together bring in more clarity and purpose to this discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, Pradeep sir, for the wonderful insights provided to us. Actually, now the time for Q&A. So the floor is for the attendees. So kindly unmute yourself. If anything on the chat, please consolidate it and ask the questions to sir, Pradeep sir. And if you have any questions, you are free to unmute and ask directly to sir, because we have a lot of our professionals here, academics here. So kindly, we will have a very, kindly be active, and we will have a very eminent personality here to answer all of your questions. Please take this opportunity. Thank you.
So I had a question to Mr. Pradeep.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So it is like, the Electricity Act 2020 is going to be passed soon, we understand. And once it is passed, all subsidies are going to be nil, and privatization is imminent. So eventually it can improve the productivity and reduce the cost also, we expect. In such a situation, how the DISCOMs, especially as far as we are concerned, the KCBL will react to that? I mean, it will adapt to that.
Okay. If the question is over, I can respond to that.
Yeah.
Of course, I am not commenting on your opinion regarding the private sector and the efficiency and productivity. I'm not. I keep your opinion there. I'm not. I have a different opinion, but I am not taking time here to respond to that. And of course, on 2020 amendment, I think there are two misconceptions in what has been stated. One is 2020 doesn't prescribe privatization, very clear, and it is not prescribing removal of cross subsidy also. It has been earlier, the 2018, when the amendment was there in the form of Electricity Amendment Act draft 2018. These two proposals has been there, but in the 2020 avatar, it has been removed. So the presumption on this compulsory privatization and complete removal of subsidies are not in the part of the 2020 enactment or its draft. I cannot say anything about its final enactment in the parliament, but in the draft proposal, it is not there.
Okay, fine.
If you have any doubts, please feel free to unmute yourself or post the questions in the chat session. We'll wait for a couple of minutes for that.
Pradeep sir, actually, I have a question to you. You are telling about the supply licenses. So do we have supply licenses in the states, or can you name any one of them?
Supply license is a new concept sought to be introduced in the proposed amendment by central government. So as such, anywhere in the country, there are no one like supply licenses. As on today, there are distribution licenses, and in the state of Kerala, apart from KSCB, there are around 10 distribution licenses. But most of them operate in small geographical locations. Thrissur Corporation is a well-known example. Thrissur Municipal Corporation, in their earlier corporation area, not the present corporation area, in their earlier municipal corporation area, they are the distribution licensee. Similarly, in Munnar, Kannandevan is the Kannandevan Tata Tea is the distribution licensee there. These are the two licensees who supply electricity to common public. Then comes licensees like Techno Park, Info Park, then Cochin Port Trust, and Kinfra's subsidiary called Kinesco, which supplies electricity to their park areas, where they own the parks. They are the distribution licenses in those areas. But they cater to both distribution and supply.
Okay. Are they are sustainable too, or are they provide this RPO obligation? They have to provide RPO obligation for them.
They are trying to do that. The Thrissur Corporation already has acquired rights from state government to set up certain small hydro projects. They are setting up some solar projects also. And Cochin Special Economic Zone, they have set up certain solar plants within their locality. But of course, they are not in a position to comply with the renewable purchase obligation requirements. But the Regulatory Commission and KSCB is hand-holding them in such a manner that in case we are the seller licenses to them. So if we if as the mother utility, if KSEB is in a position to cater to the renewable purchase obligation to that licenses also, then in that case they need not cater to that requirement separately. That kind of a hand-holding is being envisaged in the regulations.
Okay, sir. I have another question regarding the, you were telling about the IEEE second powerhouse station. So is it something like a separate hydro station, or is it something a floating solar power plant in the reservoir? You're telling about a battery grid storage battery also into that.
Yes, yes. In fact, I have been rushing through those ideas at that point of time. Both these are coexisting. Okay. IEEE reservoir, we plan to have put floating solar in the reservoir. So the floating solar panels will come in phases. In the first phase, NTPC and KSEB has agreed to set up around 125 megawatt, and around 250 megawatt will come in the second phase. So in that floating solar will have a component for battery storage also, to have some peaking support. Not the entire energy will be stored. Some portion of the energy generator will be stored to give peaking support. So that is one project. IEEE second powerhouse is a hydro project. It is something like this. See, there is a debate that is going on in Kerala, and of course across the country also, in view of the solar power coming in a big way. Of course, renewable target of the country is 175 gigawatt, but small hydro and wind sources are not coming up in that expected manner, but solar is coming up in a big way. So which is available only during daytime. So what will you do in the rest of hours of the day, or in the evening peak, or in the night, etc.? What will you do if all this power come only in the daytime? So there are two views on to that. One is that once all this solar power comes up, there will be abundant surplus power during daytime, which can be stored through hydel stations by pumping power from the lower reservoir to the upper reservoir. So the surplus energy will be used to pump energy from the lower reservoir to the reservoir. And in the evening peak, when the sun sets, this energy, water stored in the upper reservoir will be utilized to generate electricity further during using the same water. The next day, this cycle repeats. So this will be a very interesting scenario if you have a surplus energy which is cheap, because pumping energy is consumed. If that energy is costly, then due to efficiency losses, you will generate only part of that energy used to pump up to generate power during peak hour. So that efficiency losses will almost always keep this an inefficient proposition unless you have very cheap power during the daytime. Because Kerala doesn't have that kind of cheap surplus power.
Okay, sir.
We have gone through, we have used this pumped storage mode. But instead, what we are trying to do is that when surplus energy is available during daytime, we will reduce generation from the hydro stations so that water will be conserved in the reservoir. That conserved energy for water will be used in the peak time to use additional energy. But here there is a problem. Additional power can come through additional machines only. Otherwise, only the existing machines can supply, which is limited. So an additional number of machines can support the grid with additional capacity during the evening peak hour. That is a concept there.
Okay, sir. Excellent proposal. I will take the liberty to ask one more question. Like we have a proposal for coming up with a blockchain model, actually, kind of something adapted in the Western side. So with the existing, because you are a policy person, sir, and that's why I'm taking the liberty to ask the question. So see, there is a policy here, and KCRC is coming up with regulations also. So shall we have a regulation kind of thing to get the stuff like see, if you select somewhere an area, for example, a residential area, kind of 30 households or 50 households or 100 households and take up the blockchain with some international associations, take the software and making, as you suggested, we make these people as prosumers instead of consumers. So because the prevailing policy won't allow us to do this. So shall we get a pass for the policy for this to enable blockchain into these areas as an experiment, at least as a theoretical or a kind of research kind of experiment?
We had initiated certain discussions with KDISC, which is an innovation center set up by Kerala government, to venture into this blockchain big business model that is coming up. Of course, that is a new area. So far, we have not significantly worked on that. Of course, we are still in the preliminary stages, so it may not be appropriate to elaborate much on that, because we are still trying out various elements of that. And of course, technology is also, of course, our in-house expertise in managing these blockchain sequences are limited. So we have to explore a lot before making any policy proposition on that.
Okay.
And meanwhile, Madhu Krishnan has raised a question regarding infrastructure development. What are the factors we consider while deciding on the investment? That is a kind of question. If I understood his question correctly, I will respond to that question like this. See, every product proposition will have to go through a cost-benefit analysis. Okay. So any infrastructure investment has a cost to it, say 100 crore project. So we have to optimize that cost first, whether that is the most or the least cost solution for the identified problem. So that cost optimization happens on the one side. Once you freeze down the cost part, then we will have to examine what are the benefits that accrue out of the project. So infrastructure projects in electricity sector usually provide broadly three type of benefits. One is it provides additional sites because the existing capacity is inadequate. So if you enhance your capacity by putting in more infrastructure, you will be in a position to sell more energy. So that many proposition. The second one is that in transmission distribution infrastructure investment, you will be bringing down losses, technical losses in the system, the transmission or the distribution losses. That is again a quantifiable benefit. Then comes the reliability portion. Once reliability improves, the load you supply will also, the load you serve to will also increase, or the sale volume again increase because of the reliability also. So these are the tangible benefits. There are intangible benefits like customer satisfaction, etc. These are intangible things, but these are the most significant tangible benefits. So you quantify that, and based on a given formulation that has been stipulated by central as well as state regulators, which is not a very complex thing, and it is not a very new innovation. It has been there for decades together. So you put those figures, your investment, you will have to repay your investments over a time. You will have to have, there is a cost to that funds you raise. If you raise it from banks, you will have to pay interest to them. So that is the cost of funds. So you factor in all those things, and there is a well-defined cost-benefit analysis worksheet, which gives you the net present value of your investment, or the IRR. That is a typical financial analysis tool used, internal rate of return. So the general rule is that if the IRR is greater than the prevailing market rates, then that project is a viable project. The returns or the benefits outweigh the cost. And otherwise, if the NPV, net present value of all your benefits over the life cycle of the project is positive, then that also means that the benefits outweigh the cost. Now, in the simple scenario, if benefits outweigh your cost, you can right away take the investment decision and go ahead. But there will be some certain cases where this cost may outweigh the benefits, or the costs are higher than the benefit that are, or the tangible benefits that accrue from the project. Then, of course, you will have to take a call based on the intangible benefit you know about. Say KCB has, as part of the total electrification project run by Kerala, has electrified a remote village in Idukki. I just doesn't recollect the name of that village. To reach that village, I had to lay almost 15 kilometers of underground cable, which again is a costly proposition. And I am giving supply to few hamlets there. So the revenue coming from that project will be very negligible, and many of them may not even pay electricity charges. So in these kind of projects, of course, then the policymakers has to take a decision whether the intangible benefits, the benefits accrued to the community by way of their enhanced productivity time, their children's education, all those things, intangible benefits will be taken into account, then an appropriate decision will have to be taken. I think I have answered your question. Okay, thank you.
So there is one more question in the chat. How is the public involvement for setting up EV charging stations? Is there any regulations issued?
As of now, electric charging station business is a deregulated sector. That means there won't be any regulation for the time being. So it has two meanings. It is too early to put in any regulation. It is a very sunrise industry. Nobody knows how it will evolve. So there are no regulations as of now. And the business proposition for a private sector investment, the business case is weak there, because anybody putting a private investment for an electric vehicle charging station, he may not have returns in the initial years to repay his debt. So the business case is weak unless some corporate entities having deep pockets come in and set up electric charging stations across the state and create a monopoly with an intention to create a monopoly, so that he will recover his investments over a long period, as Jio has done. Jio is a typical model for that. They are they have deep pockets, and they are putting in investment like fiber laying across the country, big investment they are making. And of course, they have other business models of what you call disappearing of their debt through equity share value appreciation, and then selling their equity over the market and then repaying the debt without any revenue from the primary business itself. These kind of that are not conventional models. That only corporates with the deep pockets and who can play with the share markets, etc., can do. Of course, nobody is expecting that kind of corporates to come in for setting up electric charging stations in the immediate future. So that is why the public sector is here now. That is why KSB is taking the lead. As of now, it is we call it as a chicken and egg problem. So nobody knows whether the egg has come first or the chicken has come first. Without chicken, egg cannot come. And without egg, chicken cannot come. So it is a typical chicken and egg problem. So nobody is going to set up electric charging stations unless there are significant number of electric vehicles in the roads. And nobody is going to buy electric vehicles unless there are significant number of electric charging stations in the roads, because he will be having this range anxiety, what you call the range anxiety, because I venture into the road with the available battery, and if the battery battery drains due to say a shower, I am using more, or I am using my headlight more, or I have to go for a long distance. This range anxiety will be there in the driver's mind. And if there are no electric charging stations, nobody is going to buy electric vehicles. So to break that barrier, public sector, with of course with the help of the government is funding that program. State government has already earmarked funds for setting up 36 charging stations in Kerala through KSEB, and Government of India through FAME 2 subsidy program is subsidizing around 75% of the capital cost for setting up charging stations. We are tapping into that subsidies, not our own investment. Our own investment will be a small component in that investment. So we are tapping into that grants and subsidies to set up, to initially break the barrier to set up the electric charging station, so that people will be confident to buy electric vehicles and use it across the road and have charging. Of course, this is again a very evolving sector. This battery chemistry is going to improve like anything. Now, the typical batteries available now, the charging stations will take around 40 minutes to charge from 20 to 80%. So that is a typical timing that is coming in. Now new technologies are coming in with new battery chemistries. So these battery charging stations now we set up may become obsolete in the next 2-3 years with new kind of batteries coming in. So there are a lot of business risks involved. That is why government and public sector investment is currently there. Of course, at a time period, the private sector will find out that this will be a profitable business proposition and will start investment. So until that, the public sector has to take the lead. And of course, even though regulations are not there, the policies encourage private sector to invest in the charging infrastructure. And KCB has on its own developed an app wherein it is available in a Play Store and in our website. So they can, using that app, can show interest to KSEB that I want to set up a charging station in my location or in a land in my possession. Will you invest? So there are different models. KSEB can invest in his land to set up the charging station and share the proceedings, or he can make investments, and KSEB will provide supply to him at a subsidized rate for his charging station. So different models are there. So those who are interested in setting up charging stations on their own with the private investment, they are welcome. And the policy encourage that. Even though there are no regulations, the policies encourage participation of private sector.
Thank you so much, sir. I guess the questions are all cleared, and we are good to move on. Now it's my honor to invite Dr. Bijana ma'am, Honorable Chair IEEE IEEE Kerala Chapter for the vote of thanks. Ma'am, the mic is all yours.
Good evening, everyone. Hope am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Ma'am, yours.
It was a fantastic evening listening to Pradeep sir. The last day yesterday, a very fantastic discussion with Engineer Biju SS, and today we had Pradeep. We are indeed very thankful to the Power and Energy Society making such a wonderful thing happen. Of course, I am part of PES, and we actually dreamt of having this for quite some time. And to have a person like Pradeep sir talking to us, who actually discussed with us why the policies are being framed in this way and what to look upon for different alternatives. I want our industry institute interaction as part of our Power and Energy Society. Many places where we went, in most of the colleges, the students were asking, all these technologies have been already discovered, has been already in, then why are you taking this as a problem for KSEB? Everywhere we had to tell them, see, whatever those researchers have identified or have solved is for that particular state. And problem here and solve the problem. Actually, you have said, as a practicing engineer of KSCB, how we have been taking care of this particular aspect. We are really proud to hear how the rules and technology has been adopted, taking in mind of the people here, and treating the customers as the primary recipients of all this. We are indeed happy to hear you, sir. In fact, I want to tell you something. So, because right from 2003, Electricity Act, I've been part of that, and after my research also, we had actually approached our, then I was in Bangalore, so we had approached that utility, telling that you can adapt to this particular model the way it is. You need to change your policies, you need to adopt it in a different way. At that time, nobody was there to listen to us. And whatever we found out, it kept on being in the published journals and gone west. But now, when the practicing engineers actually realized the issues, we are also, as academicians, very happy to work with you and do the problem and solve the problem with you in collaboration, so as to make our KSCL the best utility in the world. And we are sure people like you who look at the policy thinking on both sides, it evolve as the best. And with renovation, with all the technologies put in, and with the what to say, I would request you to have our own involvement into the actual researchers of the power systems also may please be involved in the work of KSCB, so that we can also be a part of the grand success that you are actually holding together. Thank you so much for sparing so much of time with us, sir, and also enlightening us with all the beautiful information that you have. Thank you very much. Thank you, PES lead, sir, Bobby, Suhair, madam. Thank you all participants for the patient listening, and we actually look forward for further meetings throughout this weekend in this particular sessions. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you all for joining us today. Hope to meet you all again for the next session of this series. Until then, stay safe, good night, and enjoy your evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all. A quick announcement. We have the two sessions coming up. One is the dam top and floating solar projects of KCB Limited, scheduled on 25th November by Engineer Laiju AMS, Assistant Executive Engineer Rees KCB Limited. And we have a second session on 26th by Engineer VK Joseph sir, Chief Engineer Rees, both from the Renewable Energy and Energy Savings Limited. He will be speaking on utility power plants and EV initiatives. So do tune to it. Request all participants again to log in, I think on the Zoom platform. Can anybody confirm it? So thank you Suhai sir, and thank you Pradeep sir for enlightening us. All the participants, all the respected leaders who are present here, thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So can anyone confirm on the next platform?
Yes, sir. Sir, as of now, it is planned to be held in Zoom meetings.
Earlier link can